I love being an entrepreneur. I love business. And so we're both the same way. We love learning about new things and then expanding upon that with our own ideas and creativity.
This is the Sweno Creative Podcast. I'll be your host, professional photographer and video content creator, Brian Sweno. In this podcast, we will discuss all parts of business, marketing, mindset, creativity, and self-improvement. Sometimes with the help of a special guest to provide some incredible outside perspective. For the people who don't know who you are, just introduce yourselves and tell us what you do.
Well, I'll go first. Gary with 42 North Photography, and we also own the 1931 venue. And of course, we specialize in weddings, engagements, and boudoir photography. And Tracy does all the boudoir.
Yep. So, hi, I'm Tracy.
And you're a husband and wife.
We are
a power couple.
Yes.
That
Aww.
Power couple, entrepreneur extraordinaire. What are the other adjectives we can throw in there? You have the best haircut ever.
Best
also,
haircut, yes.
Yeah. all these different things.
All the
I stole my look from him. So
no, he's giving me way too much credit. I stole mine from him.
I do like the glasses. You are the only person that I've ever seen who the clear glass frame actually looks good on.
Yeah.
Like
I used to have glasses like yours, and I'm like, I want to be different than Brian. And
whenever I tried these on, I tried some of those, and I'm like, nope.
Yeah.
Nope. They don't really look good on hardly anybody, but you pull it off really well.
Well, thank you.
You got a good style. You got a good style.
Thanks.
I'm as plain as possible. Just blue jeans and t-shirt or cut off shirt half the time.
Yeah.
I got no style.
Well, I knew I was coming here, so I wanted to be stylish.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
So what got you guys interested into photography? I don't think I've ever, in all of our talking to each other, have ever found out what actually started you guys off in photography.
We bought a camera. That was it? No.
That's how it starts.
Yeah. that was it.
What prompted the buying of the camera? Was there ever like a thought of, hey, we should be photographers? Or was it just like a hobby turned profession? Or
yes and no. 2007.
Yeah.
My brother was actually diagnosed with a glioblastoma stage 2 brain cancer tumor. And so within the process of his journey and health and everything, at one point, he actually had to undergo a procedure. And my dad made a comment, and my brother replied by saying, "Dad, life is worth living. Every moment is to be cherished." And my dad goes, "Well, if you could do one thing, go anywhere, where would it be?" And he goes, "I want to go to Alaska." And so anyways, we as a family were like, we should go to Alaska.
Mm-hmm.
And so at that point, we were like, holy cow, I don't know if we're ever going to get to go to Alaska again.
Once in a lifetime trip?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so we were like, we need a nice camera.
Yes.
And so when that happened, then Gary was like, okay, well, I need to know everything I can about this tool.
Mm-hmm.
How does it function? Its ins, its outs. What do you do with it? How does it work? All the different things. And so came online classes, came books, came practicing, came lots of different avenues. Yeah. And so that just really blossomed.
Kind of just propelled us forward and fell in love with photography.
Mm-hmm.
And it was something that we became passionate about.
And also during that time, we both had different types of social work positions, mm-hmm. which can be very draining, very rewarding, but also very draining. And so within that journey of ours, we had, surprise, a friend say, "My daughter's getting married." And we were like, "Well, congrats." Mm-hmm. She's like, "No, you're going to shoot the wedding."
Yeah.
And we were like, "Wait,
what?
Huh?"
So they just placed it on you. Didn't give you an opportunity to say no?
Not completely.
Not really.
And so we were like, okay, well, this is literally our friend's daughter's most important, one of her top 3 most important days of her entire life, we can't screw it up.
No.
And so came more classes, more trainings, more practicing,
Yes. Yeah.
more everything.
Well, I mean, Brian, you know how difficult weddings are. You know, I mean, you're dealing with so many different lighting scenarios, and we knew that going in. We knew that we were going to have to learn lighting like nobody's business. And I think that's a big mistake that a lot of wedding photographers make, is they don't learn about the lighting. It's all romantic, it's fun shooting weddings, it's creative, but the main thing about photography is the lighting. And if you don't have that down, you're not going to create those wow images.
Mm-hmm. One thing with lighting, that's one thing that intimidates a lot of people too. Whenever they pick up the camera, they're like, oh, I got to figure out how to make light work. I'll just not. I'm going to be a natural light photographer. Yeah. But within natural light photography, you can still do, like, figure out how to make the best light, you know?
Yes.
And that's where a lot of people, they see that as an obstacle and they just avoid the obstacle, which is the thing in life, but also in business, I've found out, you know? People just avoid the thing that they kind of are intimidated by.
Yes.
Right.
That's one of the things that I kind of dove headfirst into. Like, if something intimidates me or it's not my expertise, I like to learn everything about it. Just like you were talking about with the camera a minute ago. You wanted to learn everything about it to make sure you could do it good. Is that how you've always been? Like, if you get interested in something, you want to learn everything about it?
If I get passionate about something, I do. I dive in and I want to learn everything I can. And it's the same way with business. You know, I love being an entrepreneur. I love business. And so we're both the same way. We love learning about new things and then expanding upon that with our own ideas and creativity.
Yeah. We kind of talked off camera a little bit, and you guys always are coming up with new cool ideas, and we've always kind of had that sort of like, I'm always trying to do new stuff. You guys are trying to do new cool stuff. So it's really cool. And it's cool to see other people that you kind of do things, you think about things in a different way than I do, you know, so it's cool to open up, you know, expand your thoughts a little bit and collaborate with people who are on the same wavelength, but we all have slightly different wavelengths and stuff. So
exactly. And that's what makes it so fun because, you know, no matter what you're doing, you don't want everything to be exactly the same. And if there's something where, you know, we know, okay, this isn't our niche, like, oh, but Sweno does it. Hey, here's something that you could do that you're going to be able to achieve 5 times faster, or maybe you would be able to help that client. Because, like, for example, like you were talking about the videos. Well, that's not our niche.
No, we don't do videos.
And so, like, for you, that would be no big deal.
Yeah.
You're like, I've got the gear. I have the knowledge. I have the equipment. I know how to edit it. All the things. And that makes it great.
A lot of people, whenever they first start out too, I just had this conversation with another photographer the other day. It's like a few years in, you almost get to the point where your sole focus is to weed out potential clients and the people that aren't going to fit you versus just trying to onboard every single thing that doesn't really make sense. I think that's a really cool moment in your business wherever you finally get not only the, I guess, monetary benefit of being great at what you do and have enough business that you can turn some away and still be good, but also finding out like what your voice is, what you actually want to put into the world. And that's like a pivotal moment in photography, especially. Like you're dealing with imagery and you're trying to make these impactful moments and snapshot literally a time in a person's life. Do you guys find that challenging at all to like the pressure of that, of the weddings? You guys do weddings almost exclusively as like your main gig, right? And you mentioned the boudoir and stuff.
Yeah,
but
Tracy does the boudoir, but as far as weddings, we both do those. We both shoot. We're both passionate about it. And, you know, you're right. When we were first starting out, I mean, I would get so nervous before every wedding because we knew the importance of those moments to our couples. You know, we wanted to do the best that we could. And there's always going to be that sense of nervousness before a wedding, you know, because there's always those unexpected moments and different things. And sometimes, it's like the gear doesn't quite work out, or, you have technical difficulties as well. And you have all of that concern, so that's why we always do carry a backup camera. But as far as being, I guess right now we're not as nervous as we used to.
Mm-mm.
I mean,
how long have you guys been doing that? Since 2017?
Oh no.
No, we've been
shooting weddings for about 8 years.
8 years stuff. So
is senior photos and stuff anything you guys ever do any of that?
Mm-hmm.
We do. We just don't really market it. I mean, we do family photography and we do senior photography, but we just don't really push it, market. If somebody contacts us and say, "Hey, we have a senior, we really like your work, we want you," and we'll do it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. If someone hasn't seen your guys' work, how would you describe it to them?
A lot of our work is cinematic.
Cinematic.
Mm-hmm.
I can see that.
Yeah, we like to use a lot of I love color in photography, so I love the cooler shadows and the warmer highlights, and that to me is more of a cinematic feel when you have kind of the warm and the blue, and they just kind of meld and go together, and that's kind of my editing style as well.
Yeah.
So
do you? It's been a while since we've actually shot together now, but do you guys still almost exclusively shoot with flash?
We use best available light, but if we do use a lot of flash.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's one thing I noticed whenever I started shooting with you guys. That's whenever I was trying to get into learning lighting and stuff. And I saw you guys have these little mag-mod things and these little globes. And I'm like, you're just popping that up everywhere and you get perfect light every time. So I'm like, I got to learn this. So you guys were one of the people who propelled me to learn. And I feel like
that's awesome.
I kind of pride myself on lighting being my expertise now. So you guys were the kick in the ass, for that. So I appreciate that. You guys opened my eyes to what this could do for my work. So what do you do the most of, and is it your favorite? I know weddings is probably your most common thing, but is weddings your favorite out of those different styles to shoot?
Tracy enjoys boudoir.
I really do enjoy boudoir. I really love getting to work with each individual woman and be able to really tap into her inner beauty and really allow her to be able to see what her friends, her family, and anybody else, is able to actually see, but she's blind to.
Mm-hmm. I haven't actually talked to any other boudoir photographers. Is that something you guys you saw that sort of mission of that and wanted to offer that to people and you started it that way?
Mm-hmm. So there was a class that we were taking at Shutterfest one year, or that I signed up to take at Shutterfest. And I left that class and I looked at Gary and I was just like, this is my niche. Mm-hmm. This is what I want to do and be able to personally bring to the world and just be able to showcase people themselves.
And it's awesome too. You guys are working together a lot. You have different businesses together and stuff too, which is a challenge in itself, working with your spouse all the time. Then you go home, you never have a break from each other. That sort of a feeling, but you have your own little expertise is within the thing.
Yes.
So I think that probably helps you guys.
And I mean, she is great at boudoir. I really don't have a passion for it. I love engagement photography. I like engagement photography, engagement sessions more so than weddings. It's just, to me, I can get more creative at engagement sessions, as you well know. Weddings, you have to get, you have certain standard shots that you have to get, and you have very little time for creativity in weddings. But with engagement sessions, I find that I have more time with the couple to get more creative. So
not only that, but we get to actually know their personalities, which is fantastic and fun. And then if we're able to have the blessing of shooting their engagement session and their wedding, then on the wedding day, we're just walking in as old friends, essentially.
Is that how you guys package to where like you're incentivize people to do the engagement and the wedding thing? I know people kind of go different directions.
We do love to be able to do that, but it doesn't always happen.
No, it doesn't. I mean, we don't necessarily have to shoot their wedding to shoot their engagement.
Mm-hmm. So then you guys decided to open up a venue.
Well, we decided
what brought that on?
We decided we needed a new building. Is what happened was
we were outgrowing our studio space that we had in Osage Beach. So
yeah, and then just literally we went and we looked at so many different spaces, and so many of them we were like, well, this layout is not correct. Yeah. And so we would ask like, well, could we do renovations? Could we do this? And everybody was like, nope, the space is how the space is. You can't, make the ceilings taller, pop down this wall, or do whatever. They didn't want any of that. They wanted you to keep the layout the way the layout was. And so we just kept looking and looking and looking. And at one point, we seriously thought we were just going to have to do a pole barn. Mm-hmm. And
just a plain metal building.
Tent, somewhere.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
And I was just like, I don't like metal buildings. Like, no offense to people out there who are having a metal building.
My whole audience is metal building like people. So
sorry.
No.
Yeah. There's very little out there besides metal buildings, especially like with Osage Beach and Lake Ozark. We were trying to keep it in that area. Mm-hmm. And we actually found a spot, somebody who was doing metal buildings, and we're like, well, we're going to have to settle.
And that's what it was. We felt like we were settling.
And Tracy contacted the person, and the person, send you an email?
Yep. Well, a few weeks before that, though, we had a big conversation about, is this really what we want to have? As our studio space, or what would we rather have? And we both kind of came to the conclusion that we'd honestly rather have a building that has character, has potentially some sort of architecture. Mm-hmm. And, it would be incredible if it was slightly historic. Like, that would have been amazing. And less than 30 minutes away from our house. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, okay, God, tall order. And so I was in contact with a realtor about a metal building, but it was also going to be where you laid out the specs. Like, you were able to say, I want this loft here, I want this wall here, I want the bathroom over there. And it was designed how you wanted it. She sent me the wrong MLS. It was for something completely different. And so I got impatient. And so I did just a little search, and I found our building.
Yeah.
And
just kind of popped up. And then we have a realtor friend who we called, and she was on it. She introduced mm-hmm. us to the person who owned it. Yep. And from there, we worked directly with him. He was between real estate agents listing. Mm-hmm. So she just kind of bowed out, and we worked directly with the buyer and ended up buying it. And I don't know, we're thinking, what else are we going to do with this building? I mean, there's a lot of space, right? At 9,000 square feet, I mean, that's a ton of space. So we're mm-hmm. thinking about having renters, rent out office space and having the studio upstairs, which is what's a really large area, large room and stuff. And then mm-hmm. I remember just thinking, said, you know what? I don't know if we want to be dependent upon renters. Mm-hmm. And how can we make income off this building, basically? Mm-hmm. And it's like, why not? We're in the wedding business, we shoot weddings. We know a lot about weddings. So why not a venue?
Yeah. So you have an expectation whenever you start doing something like that. Has the reality of it been what you thought it was going to be? Better, worse, of owning the venue? It's been a couple of years now. You're coming up on a couple of years, right?
We are coming up on a couple of years. Mm-hmm. We're not quite to the 2-year mark.
No.
But it's slowly growing.
It is.
And, just like almost anything else, I would love to believe that you wake up one day, you have a business idea, you get mm-hmm. it all prepped, and then like the next week you have a completely full calendar.
Yeah.
It's just not the way it works.
Yeah.
So It is slowly growing. It's getting to the point to where when I get inquiries for the venue, then I'm able to ask, have you been here? And I'm starting to get people who are saying, yes, I attended an event there. I loved it. I want to rent your space.
Yeah.
Perfect. So
you offer weddings there, but you also offer events
Yes.
and different things too, which will probably help you guys, get
yes.
more people in the door to see the awesomeness and the potential of it too.
Oh,
So,
yes.
Yeah.
So we've had basically, if you want to have a private gathering space for people, that's what we host. So we've had celebrations of life, to birthday parties, to graduations, to baby
Retirement.
showers, retirements, bridal showers. We even had one artist who is a painter, and she brought in all of her canvases, and she set up as an art gallery.
like a little pop-up thing.
Yeah.
Which was fantastic.
That's a cool option because a lot of people just need some space sometimes,
yeah.
Exactly. I mean, you need space for people to come and see your stuff. And so, and she was a fantastic artist. So that was
awesome.
amazing. Yeah, we've had private Christmas parties, Thanksgivings. Yeah, just kind of the world is.
Any event you want that's, kind of reasonable, then we'll entertain.
Well, at least consider it. Yeah.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's one of the aspects of having this building we've been talking about, of having the members and the offices and then maybe rent it out for private events and stuff. Like, it's not a gigantic space, but if you want a small gathering and you order in food or something, it's perfect for that.
Like a
So
Christmas party or something.
or like the banks around town or real estate offices need a spot that's not their office that they want to host something at. So that's what we're kind of looking at, those different options right now and all of that stuff. So you kind of mentioned about mentors earlier, and that's something you guys I've always heard you talk about too, of learning from other people.
Yes.
Do you have a specific person or specific people that you're always getting more knowledge from?
We do. When we went full time with our business in 2019, we knew that we needed help because we come from social work backgrounds. We knew very little about business. People go into business thinking, like, especially I think photography business, and maybe creatives in general, thinking it's all going to be great, creative photography, taking pretty pictures. No, it's mostly business, and we knew we needed help with business. And so our first mentor was Sal Sincata. And Sal is, he is one of the best photographers in the world. He's a Canon Explorer of Light. But more importantly, he runs multi-million-dollar businesses, and is a very successful business person. And he's very direct and very honest, and that's exactly what we needed. So he took our business and just turned it upside down and just like, okay, this is how you're going to start doing things. This is what needs to happen for you to run a successful business, and then we did a 2-day mentorship with him. And then off and on, we can call him anytime or text him and he will give us advice still, so he's been very, very important to our business.
What do you think
For sure.
the most valuable piece of advice is that you got from him? Was there like that? There's usually that light bulb moment. Do you have something to share from him?
Just what's weird is some advice that he shared, at least with us, that I took, that I keep going back to, is perfection is the enemy of good. Meaning that, you could sit there and try to make something perfect for long periods of time and take all the time in the world. But in business, you can never get everything perfect or anything perfect, but you can get it good enough to start and then move on, because with business, you're just so many different moving parts that you don't have much time.
One of my my favorite things that I think about is everyone has money for what they want. So if something is important to somebody, they'll purchase it. They will find a way.
Regardless of the price point. And
exactly.
Within reason, I guess.
Within reason. Yeah. I mean, it's not like you're like, oh, let me do this and it costs, $2 million. Not everybody is going to be able to figure out a path to be able to raise $2 million for something.
Yeah.
But some people will, for whatever it is, they will figure it out.
Both of those are really good. I have the real world example of yours is me with this space. I've kind of pushed that off, not knowing if it's going to go well, go terribly, go well, but I will never know if I don't just do it.
Yeah.
So that's a real world example right now in my life that directly applies to. So I've been have to do some self-reflection on that lately.
Yeah. And then our other mentor is Joey Thomas. Joey Thomas is a wedding and portrait photographer out of Dallas, Texas. He's amazing. I mean, he has he gets into a lot of like the psychology of like sales and different things, and I think that's been a game changer for us. And he's went through our website, and we have completely revamped the website from what it was and changed everything, including all the verbiage, all the wording, and it's night and day.
And he's also kind of helped us be able to see where our pockets of need are. So then we're able to go ahead and learn how to build a better bridge and be able to have more solidified just everything.
Like working on your weaknesses, essentially.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So identifying the weaknesses and then building on them. He said, once you reach a certain point, he said, it's the little things. It's a very tiny, minute changes that make the huge difference in the things that you do.
Yep.
And so both of our mentors have played huge roles within where we are and who we are and how we're able to develop and continue with our businesses. Because if we never made the decision to actually go and have a mentor the first time,
we wouldn't be in business.
No.
Well, one thing is really good that you guys recognize that. That's where I think a lot of people get off track from the jump. Is even if they do have a good eye for photography and they pick it up, I always talk about the revolving door of photographers. Every 2 to 3 years, there's another wave of people that pick up a camera, they try to make a business, and then they fall off, and then you get the next cycle. You gotta figure out both sides of that. I really have always been interested in business, and I took psychology classes in high school and college, and like the what makes people tick has always been sort of something I'm drawn to. So that guy you mentioned, I'm gonna go look up his stuff now. If he takes a psychology approach, because I resonate with that a lot, and I've had those light bulb moments for myself of the people that explain things like that. I like to figure out who the customer is and like what makes them tick, what's going to make them buy, and everyone's different. So that's the challenge of it on the business end. And then you got the whole creative thing. And it's very rare that people have both of those things out of the gate. So recognizing that you guys weren't as savvy in the business world, but that I feel like is a learnable skill.
Yes.
You can learn the technical things for a camera, but you can't train someone's eyeballs.
Right.
Whereas in business, it's pretty black and white a lot of the times. Either something works or it doesn't. So
yeah. But again, I really think though in business too, you have to be creative. I mean, I think that is you can't just go by the book all the time. Sometimes you have to break rules, and I think in business you have to experiment and you have to be creative to solve problems.
That's where I think the business people that try to be creative don't have near as good a success as the creatives who try business things, because you have that outside the box thinking, and being a problem solver is what creatives do.
Yeah.
Like if you're a problem solver, you can solve problems in your life. You can solve problems for other people. You can solve problems creatively. So like that one skill can unlock the whole world of doors for you, I feel like.
Yeah, I agree. And
I do agree with that too. The one thing that I do think that we had as a common problem, as a lot of creatives do, is we're creative. And so we'll look at somebody and say, oh, this person has a successful business. How are they doing it? Mm-hmm. Well, I resonate with this aspect that this person is doing. But I don't really resonate because I don't understand the rest of it. So then you look at somebody else and you're like, oh, well, I resonate with that part. Well, can I put that part with this part? I wonder if that'll work. That's what we were trying to do. We literally were trying at the very beginning to take multiple different puzzle pieces from different puzzles to smush them together to make one pretty picture.
The outline might have aligned, but it didn't make a pretty picture.
No, it didn't. And that's what we got with Sal, with our first mentor.
Yes.
You know, it's like we were pulling this from here, pulling this from there, and then taking this and taking that, and just, you know, if you're cooking, if you're using like a recipe and you're trying to bake bread and you're using eggs, flour, but then you use like too much water, you know, and you put like, I don't know, chili pepper in it, and you put hamburger in it, and all these crazy ingredients, you know, what are you going to get? You're going to get something awful. And that's what we were doing.
I mean, even if you follow the recipe to the T and you have too much water or too much of one thing, you still get a cookie, but the flavor's definitely off. Like, that's not what you were going for. So,
so when you learn the recipe, right? And that's what Sal said, you know, he's like, don't fuck with the recipe. Yeah. Basically is what he said to us, you know, when he laid everything out for us. He goes, when you get comfortable, then you can start experimenting with this and a little bit of this, you know, it's like just cooking. You have to experiment with different ingredients to find something that might taste a little bit better. And it's the same thing with like business. You know, once you get those basics, those baselines down, then you can start.
Your solid foundation. If you don't have your solid foundation, then your house is going to crumble. And that's
you don't start building a house from the roof.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm starting to get hungry now. I need some of that.
But yeah, so, you know, having mentors has definitely, that has definitely been an integral part for us, because
I think that's something that's great, and a lot of people definitely need that. And I think that has been something that would have expedited my success to where I am currently. I'm one of those bullheaded people, though, that I want to learn all of it, and I just figure it out by fire, you know, like trial by fire sort of thing. So I think the mentorships and things like that are smart to do, and we're about to start offering some of that stuff. So I really think that's a great thing that people should do. I do that out there.
Yes, definitely.
So, but I mean, you're condensing knowledge essentially and expediting soaking up from someone who's been there, done that, and successful at it now. So
and also, you know, somebody who has made a lot of mistakes. Like Sal was the first to tell us that he made a ton of mistakes, and you know, so he's teaching us so we don't have to make those same mistakes that he did to get where he was at.
Yeah.
But also that gives you the opportunity to learn from somebody who can see the mistakes or see the path that you're on that's leading to a big mistake. To kind of help build that detour and get you on the right path.
Yeah. And then, I mean, you got to tailor that stuff to your guys' personality and your brand and all that stuff too. So nothing with business is a one size fits all, but there's a lot of common threads that run.
Yes.
So let's switch up gears a little bit. Gear specifically. Let's talk about what gear you use. This is the funnest part of the conversation for me with photographers of what your favorite cameras are, lenses, all the things that you like use on a wedding day.
Okay. I shoot with a Canon R5, and
I've got an R6.
Tracy has the R6, so they're both mirrorless cameras. We love them. One of the things I love about Canon cameras is they're built like tanks. I mean, I've fallen with mine, and I fell face first, right, and had the camera in my hand and on a rock, just boom, just like that. Just scared half to death. Picked it up. works like it never fell or nothing. I
That
mean,
camera saved your face right there.
Yes, pretty much. So we use Canon lenses as well with that. We do. I do like the Sigma art lenses are nice. So we do have one of those.
What's your favorite focal lengths of lenses to use?
You know, right now I love the 50 1.2. I just absolutely love that lens.
It's a fantastic lens.
It is, but as far as versatility, I like the 70 to 200.
Are you primarily shoot a slightly wider, or you primarily shoot a little tighter? Like your preference, like your eyes are drawn to this focal length. Mine is always the 70 to 200, like that 200 range or an 85. There's something about an 85 lens that I can pick that out of images.
I love the 85. But I like where it's usually just not super, super tight.
Like a 50.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
50 is good for that.
I love the 50, but you know, it's just, for me, it really depends on the situation and what I'm shooting. If I'm shooting like creatives, I will use a 15 to 35 zoom lens, and then I'll use a 50. I'll use an 85. I'll use 70 to 200. It really depends on what type of look I want. If I'm shooting something that's going to be in somebody's home, 30 by 40 inch canvas or print, large print, I'm going to shoot something more of an art shot. So it's going to be, you know, the dramatic lighting, and it's going to be wide. So they have them and then all of the scene behind them.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Yeah, and it depends too, like, for me, what's going on. Because if it's something, you know, like a ring shot during the ceremony, I like getting behind the couple and being able to have a tighter shot for that. Whereas there's other times where it's like you want a little bit of the bride and groom and a little bit of their guests. Yeah. Or, you know, if I know for a boudoir client, if they're talking about they want something above their bed, they're not going to want it focused on one element. It's going to be a larger scene. So,
just as outside perspective, looking in at your guys' work, you do a very good job, from what you're posting anyways, of keeping it a variety. That's what most people, they come in, and I know exactly what they're using. Most wedding photographers, they're using a Canon 35 millimeter. So that's the most common. So you can pick that out, or if someone uses a 70-200 at all times, I'm guilty of that a lot. That look is just ingrained in the image. So you see that. So you guys do a really good job of varying it up for the situation, and you're not like really stuck to any one thing. You kind of use what's best for whatever it is. So
yeah,
that's awesome. That's awesome to see too. I am a Sony shooter, so we always have the Canon versus Sony debate. But
yeah, and you know what? You can make pretty pictures with any camera.
That's why we taught that class, and I said you can get any camera. If you can't make good images with a camera that's came out in the last 5 years, then it's on you.
Exactly. Yeah. And you know what the most important part about the camera is? The lens. Because the lens collects all the light.
As creatives and business owners, social media these days plays a pretty big role in our ability to connect with clients and do stuff like that. Is there anything that you guys specifically do to maybe like funnel your clients in through social media, or do you primarily go the website route and trying to funnel people in through your website?
We market a lot with Facebook. We have been trying to get more into Instagram as far as the marketing and funneling people that way. We do a lot of Facebook ads to market as well. And then
Real quick before you move on from that, do you find success in that?
Yeah.
With Facebook
I have
ads?
literally never ran a Facebook ad. I know it's there. I know you can do it, but I've like been a stickler again of like, I'm going to reach these people organically. You know?
And you can.
Yeah.
You can.
I mean, you could do it both ways. And we have found doing organic reach, Facebook paid advertising reach. We've done Google a couple of times, but haven't had too much success with that. And also getting out in the community and talking and networking with other people too. We also were members of BNI, the business networking group. So that meets every week. So we have, interaction with a lot of different businesses as well. So
social media, you don't have like a social media strategy where you're like, we're going to increase our social media presence and all this stuff. Like you're essentially using your social media just to convert leads to get them to book.
No, we
Not
have
necessarily just to book. It's just
we have been increasing our social media output lately just to try to get more traction with that, so we can actually try to attract more people rather than spend a lot of money on ads. So
that's where that whole like the personal branding side of things comes in. It helps you putting your face out there, and they connect that, and
it's like, oh, this is who this is.
Yeah, and really, when people hire you, they're hiring you. They're not necessarily. Your photography might be nice, but they want to connect with you. They want to connect with the person making the pictures, because they feel like, and it makes them feel more comfortable if you have that connection with them.
And at least that's the way it should be.
And
they should want that.
Yeah, and people see that on social media.
Yeah. I've definitely found that. Like I'll go out in the community, and people, especially sports is a gigantic thing that I shoot. So I go to the football games, and I got people in the stands that are hollering at me, and the cheerleaders are running over to me saying they're about to do a stunt. Could I get a photo of them?
Yeah.
So that's I see a direct correlation between that and the senior sessions too. So if you can get kids, especially, to be excited about being in front of your camera, then they're going to tell their parents, and their parents are like, "Oh, you're excited to have that guy take your photos? I'm going to pay for that." So I'm not paid to be at the football games. That's some of the marketing stuff I do. Of just I would like to be there anyways. I might as well take my camera and get some great photos of it, and then I put all those images up for free. That way, the people can download them. They feel like they have something. I would love to do that anyways, to give back. Some kids are playing football, they can't afford the senior packages and get those really great photos of themselves. So I try to make it a point to get great photos of everyone who's on the field.
That's awesome.
And then I put them up for them. Then whether they book me or not, they feel like they've got something from me, and I feel like I've given them something. So
and that kid's gonna what's that kid gonna do? He's gonna show other people those pictures. He's going to say, "Man, Sweno did these for the school," and
and
he's
whether
awesome.
it has a direct correlation between them and his family booking or not, there's always a positive. Like putting yourself out there and being good to other people, there's always a net positive with that. So
For sure.
Moving on from that, what are some setbacks you guys have ran into? Maybe with the physical location. I know we had conversations before where you expected one thing, and then there's this is going to cost extra and all that stuff. So whether it's that or photography or life, like any sort of how you overcame setbacks.
Yeah, with the purchase of our building, the building was built in 1931, right? So it's an old building, and when you go to remodel an old building, you never know what you're going to get. You can't say, "Oh, everything's going to be perfect," right? So
especially for when you go to open everything up.
Yeah, we were told when we bought the building that the electric had been updated, right? And I believe it was late 80s, early 90s, so it should have still been good, right? You would think, but what was updated was just like the outlets and stuff, but all of that was hooked onto the 1931 wiring.
Well, the other thing that was also updated was it went from a fuse panel to a breaker box. So the breakers were also updated.
So it was like a big fire hazard.
So when you looked at it from all surface arenas, you were like, perfect. Like all the outlets are grounded, and we have breakers, and there's actual space left in the breaker box. And
so needless to say, we had to rewire the entire building, which is 9,000 square feet. That's
a lot.
There goes the budget and then some.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. So that was a kind of a setback, but we found a way to make it through, and so we're just thankful that is kind of behind us right now.
Yeah. And we had a few people who blessed us along the way on being able to give us grace and be able to give us opportunities to be able to handle that situation. It was huge blessings.
Yeah, our contractors just completely amazing.
Yes. So those have been big blessings.
Yeah, and Tracy's parents just have helped us out, and that's been a big blessing. Yeah, and as far as like personal, I was diagnosed with cancer. How many years ago was that? She keeps track of all the time. I think 12,
so
13.
It was 2012, hun.
It was 2012, yeah.
Yeah.
So I was diagnosed with cancer in 2012 and been cancer-free since 2012. Yeah. So, but, I think I learned that one of the things that became more important to me is pictures, documenting those family moments, documenting vacations, documenting our boys' lives and having pictures of us for our boys and stuff. And so that has, I think, become more important to me is family.
Yeah.
Because of that.
Yeah, I was always the weirdo and got made fun of for being the guy in the corner videoing and trying to practice with my camera. And now we lost my mom out of nowhere and right before COVID happened. And now my brothers will be like, hey, could you send me that video clip of our, mom in the backyard or whatever? And I have all these things now. Yeah. I'm like, you're not making fun of me now, are you? Be the weirdo over here in the corner. And now that's the only thing we have left. So that's something people, we were talking about it earlier, hiring professionals for photography for your wedding and big things like that.
Yes.
More than likely, the thing with weddings is it's a happy day. Everyone's happy. We're having this love, but more than likely, like statistically, that is the last time that your whole extended family is going to be together with the crew that's there.
Yeah.
And
so
in
having
a happy
those people,
moment.
yeah.
You want to tell them about the wedding that we did over the summer?
Yeah, so we had a wedding over the summer. And so anyways, it started out at multiple different started out at one location and then it got moved to a different location. That location got customized, all the different things. So there was a lot of change leading up to the wedding day, which was fine. We flowed with it. It was not a big deal. And on the wedding day, we knew that the grandpa, his health wasn't fantastic. The bride and groom were like, Grandpa is actually going to be the ring bearer. He's in a wheelchair. And so they had a family member wheel him at the moment of the ring exchange. And that was beyond beautiful. But before that, before the ceremony, I was talking with Grandma and Grandpa, and Grandma's like, do you mind if you just take our portrait together? And I was like, of course. Like that, why would I not, And
no.
I'm not going to do it.
And so anyways, she made comment that he might not be here in another 3 weeks. So I knew then the extreme magnitude of him being the ring bearer and all the, different elements throughout the day and the evening and whatnot. And I think it was like a month or maybe 5 weeks after the wedding that he did pass.
Yeah. I had one of those scenarios that wasn't at a wedding, but it was a granddaughter and she had a message about her grandparents. And I did a session just with the two grandparents, like a couple session essentially.
Yeah.
And they were both very, very old and very, very frail. Half of the session was like getting them to the spot, Yes. And then I'm pretty sure the grandpa, shortly after, passed away. And then that's what they had left. And so as a photographer, that's another session, but to them, that is
the magnitude is
forever.
Huge.
That's the last thing that they remember, and and it's the high quality stuff.
Yes.
So I know we're professional photographers. We always encourage people to use us and all that stuff. But if you think about things in these terms, you have high quality stuff. It's not like your grandma with a flip phone, you know, and it looks like a Roblox character because it's all pixelated.
Yes.
You can actually see grandpa to remember him by and stuff like that. So that's something to think about, you know, if you're looking at wedding photographers and different stuff, finding people that fit well with you, their style, you want that to represent your wedding day too, and then the person that can capture those moments and not just the pretty, you know, I'm going to hang it on the wall stuff. That's great, and you should get that. But the people who are good at capturing those moments too with your family.
Because it's as cliche and cheesy as it is, they are fleeting moments. Like you will never get those back. So on my desk, I have a portrait of my brother and I. That was taken less than 2 months before he passed away.
The one that went to Alaska?
Yeah.
Yep.
That's awesome. It's awesome that you guys made that happen also, going to Alaska and experiencing that. And
it was an incredible trip. Oh my
yeah.
gosh. It was so much fun.
Great.
So between my brother, my dad, you participated a tiny bit, my nephew, and then our boys, they had an ice cream challenge. So it was an Alaskan cruise, and they had a soft serve ice cream machine. And so the challenge is who could eat the most ice cream in one day?
Yeah.
My nephew won.
I had just...
on a cruise?
On a cruise.
So your stomach's already going to be upset and you're putting a pile of ice cream on it?
Yeah, I would have been right there, but I was diagnosed with cancer that April and had emergency surgery. They took like 3 foot of my colon. And so the cruise was in June. So I was probably out of the hospital, mid-April, I think.
I think it was early May.
Yeah, the oncologist, he was like, you know, go to Alaska. So I started my chemo after Alaska. No, I started before.
You started before.
I started before I got a break. He said it's more important for you to go to Alaska with your family than it is to stay here and do chemo. So
yeah. So you got to have a little break.
I did.
And it was fantastic.
Well,
But
it's,
I couldn't-
it's great to hear that too, that you're removed from that now. And like that's quite a bit in the past for you.
Yes.
But I can't eat. I couldn't eat the ice cream though, which was, you know, I like ice cream. I love
You would
ice
have been
cream.
the winner.
I would have been the winner.
I would have bet on you.
There's no question.
He would have definitely been the winner.
Yes.
Especially if pie was involved.
Give me some peach pie and ice cream. Oh,
Warm.
man.
Warm peach pie.
Oh yeah.
I'm so picky when it comes to food and dessert and everything. It's just the texture of things. I can't get over the texture of a lot of food. So I have like, you know, plain cheeseburgers and different stuff like that. I can't do it. It makes my skin crawl if I.
You and one of our sons need to talk. You guys would have a lot in common. He's the same way.
Yeah. I don't know. My parents, all growing up, that was always a thing. Like, why are you not eating our dinner and stuff? I'm like, do you think I want to eat 3 foods for my whole life? Like, no, I would love to be a goat and just eat everything, you know? And so, unfortunately, I cannot do that. So I pass that on to my son also. He's even more picky than I am, which is, I now see it from the parents' perspective. So that's been a little flip, but.
Flip of the script.
Yeah. What would you, I don't want to take up too much of your time. We're like almost an hour in.
Oh, gosh.
Oh wow.
It flies by when you're doing this. So
Yeah, for sure.
if anyone's interested in photography, interested in picking up the camera, maybe they got an Alaska trip coming up or they just want to start a business, what would your advice be for someone to start it and actually follow through with it?
That's a good question. So, education, learn from somebody who's successful, such as yourself or us or any other, because I would say the majority of successful photographers are very giving of their time and their expertise in both photography and business. So my suggestion would find somebody that you can connect with and learn from them.
For sure.
And learn and dive into it and just pursue your passion.
And there's millions of YouTube videos too.
There's a ton of YouTube videos. Yeah.
I
really
learned
finding-
everything that I learned off of YouTube.
Yeah. We started with Creative Live, just doing education on Creative Live. That's how we found Sal. He was an educator on Creative Live. So we found him and hooked up with him at a conference that he put on, and then just asked him, do you do mentorships? And yeah.
And then we actually got interviewed and then accepted to be
Because
able
he's
to do
like,
it.
I don't take everybody
Yeah.
for mentorships. I just want to make sure that the people I work with are serious, you know?
Yeah.
So
And a good fit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good on that part too.
I think, too, knowing that it's going to take time to build is important. Making practice a priority.
Priority, yeah.
Yep. That word. But it is important. And knowing that it's going to take time to be able to grow and develop your skill, and not necessarily staying where you're comfortable, but at least starting with things that you're comfortable with and then slowly branching out.
if you're
Growing your confidence is so important.
if you're not uncomfortable, you're not growing.
Sometimes sad, but true.
Yeah.
It's just very true.
Yeah. A lot of people they see photographers and they're like, you make how much money for clicking the button, you know?
There's so much more to
That's
it.
super,
than-
you know,
I know.
it's super enticing because you that's what you see. You
Yes.
see the person over there,
Yes.
like, you know, it's cheese, take a photo. You're making how many thousands of dollars from this, you know? So I think that kind of lures people in a lot. It's same with like real estate agents. Me and Ramsey talk about that a lot.
Yeah.
Real estate, I guess there's a new law that just passed that's might complicate real estate also, but that's beside the
boy.
point of so they see these people like you're essentially helping someone buy a house.
They're giving
Peop-
tours.
Yeah,
there's
the people
tour
don't
guides.
see the back end of what actually goes into this. All the contracts and all the paperwork and all the things. You're paying someone to handle all of that and expertly, you know, represent you essentially. So you see a real estate agent, they just show people houses and they get paid however much for this, you know. You can apply it to a bunch of different fields, but
yes.
not everything's as easy.
Yes.
You know, that's what kind of separates the people who are successful and that revolving door of photographers we talked about. I feel like those are the people who pick up a camera. They might be the most interested in it out of all the people, but if they don't continuously learn and then the business part comes in, you got to actually make a sustainable business to make it, you know, sustainable.
Yeah.
So,
And you have to like the business part.
Yes.
You can't hate the business part and love photography and be successful. There are just some amazing photographers out there who are amateurs, who have they don't want to do the business part. So they're just amateurs and just doing it for fun, which is fine.
yeah. I feel like, honestly, this might be slightly controversial, but I feel like a lot more people should pick up a camera for fun. You know, not everyone needs to make a business, and not everyone should make a business. And it is evident by the revolving door of photographers.
Yes.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
some things can just be for fun, just like musicians. Some people, they do it at the highest level. They're a professional musician. And some people just need to play guitar in their bedroom and be totally fine with that. So, you know, I don't know if there's any advice to sum up what we're talking about right now.
Well,
but
I think one of the biggest things is just not being afraid to ask. Go and find somebody that you relate with and say, can we have a conversation? And start there. It doesn't have to be a big, scary first-time conversation of, ooh, can I hire you to be my mentor?
yeah.
It doesn't have to start that. It can just, can we have a conversation and discuss business and see where I can grow and how I can grow and, you know, what are the possibilities out there? Because you can Google all day long and come up with thousands of options, but maybe only a handful of those are the right ones for you.
Well, I mean, even just within photography, there's how many subgenres of photography. Like
Yes.
you guys do 3 or 4 of them. I do 5 or 6 other ones that you guys don't do, you know, and that's within photography. Like it's the same thing, right?
Yeah.
But we all
And
have
yet-
our expertise and our eyes, and like our brain fits with certain things.
Yes. Well, and I
It's
mean,
trial and error, really.
there's micro photography. Neither one of us,
Yeah.
any of us do that.
Yeah. I mean, we do for wedding days. I mean, we do like the ring shots, but nothing professional. I mean, you have those macro photographers who are taking pictures of bugs and stuff, which are really cool.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, especially when you get into like the eyeball. And
I don't
the
have
skin
any desire to.
Or like street photography.
Oh yeah,
different stuff like that. It's cool. I've actually tried to do that. Went to Springfield and like done some things. Yeah. It's cool to like experiment with that stuff. But I'm not making a career out of street photography. I know that there are people who do it for a living, and they get that once in a lifetime moment of that specific person crossing the street at that specific time with that specific umbrella, with that specific cab in the background, and it makes for great prints, and they can sell that and sell it all day long.
Yeah.
And that's a skill in of itself, is capturing that moment and seeing and anticipating that moment. That's a whole new skill. So it's cool as a photographer who does other things to kind of dabble in these other things sometimes too. Is that something you guys do sometimes?
We do. I mean, you know, I like landscape photography. But I'm not going to make that a full-time job. It's more of like the hobby side for me of photography is doing that.
I know a lot of people do that with nature photography, like the shooting the eagles and different stuff like that. There's several people around here that go down to Bennett Spring. And the fishermen, you know, the opening day of the fishermen, they'll shoot them. Yeah, the fog, the eagles swooping down and different stuff. And, you know, the fish. Yeah. It's awesome, but there's very, very, very rarely anybody who makes a living off of doing that sort of stuff, especially in our area.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things that we have thought about like selling prints, landscape prints, you know. Architectural prints and different things like that, but we just haven't pulled the trigger yet.
That could be one of those more passive income things. That you just shoot it for the fun, and you put it there. If someone buys it, they buys it. If they don't, they don't. And you had the, you know.
That is true.
Yeah.
I've actually thought about that, of like just doing different stuff like that. I'm not involved in the print world at all. I know that's sort of some of your guys' business model is incentivizing prints and stuff like that. But I'm so far removed from that selling prints as a thing, it just seems like counterintuitive to me with how I run everything. So that's something I've thought about, but I don't know if it fits within how I do things. So
yeah, and I get that. And, you know, I've thought about, is that going to fit within our brand? Am I going to have to make a completely separate brand for, you know, the landscape photography side of things? And that's something that we always think about, because, you know, running a business, you have to protect your brand. You can't get too diluted with it.
And people come to your website and they know what to expect and that consistency, and then they know if they hire you, this is what they're getting with a cherry on top every time.
Yeah. Versus if somebody is doing literally trying to be the jack of all trades.
Yeah.
Because unfortunately,
doing like landscape, seniors, families, babies, maternity, headshots, weddings, engagements, birthdays, general events. You know, it's like, what don't you do? You know?
Yeah. I was in that for a long time of like, I just want to say yes to everybody. And that leads to experimentation and but then you kind of narrow that down, and like
over
at
time,
some point you have to start funneling to what you are interested in, because that also comes through in the work. Whenever I put up a senior session that I shot in like a Nike shoot style, I'm way more excited about that, and it comes through, than my wedding photography. And that's why I realized that, and I don't ever want to put things out, especially for other people's wedding day, that I'm not as happy about or more than they are. So that's why I downed my wedding output, unless it was someone I already knew or like had ties with. But now I'll be able to offer that again, and someone who is passionate about that, and they'll still get the Sweno visuals, branding, and all that stuff with it. So I just had to recognize that. That's a hard recollection to see, because I mean, like I told you earlier, weddings in 2022 were half of my business. And in 2023, I cut out that. I shot 2 weddings last year.
That's crazy.
And I doubled my business.
Yeah.
And that just goes to show, like, incentivizing even more what you're talking about. Whenever you're passionate about what you do, it comes through in your work. Yes. So I cut out half of my business and doubled my business last year. It comes through in the work. So people recognize that. So that was a cool thing. We were doing our taxes, and I was like, one of those like,
Yes.
I'm just going to pat myself on the back for that moment. Like,
Yeah.
you know,
Because that's
those
a
don't
hard
come
one.
along very often, you know, as an
that's-
entrepreneur,
You know, exactly. But that's a really hard decision to make, especially when you're considering, here's half my business, but I'm not passionate about it. So, but then you just have to follow what you're passionate about. It's going to, like you said, show in your work, and it's going to get you eventually more business.
For sure.
So to wrap everything up, you guys have a lot going on. You got a lot of exciting things coming. Also, we're gonna save that for a different day.
We
So
do.
if someone has stuck around for this whole podcast, where can they connect with you guys, and where would you direct them to see your portfolio and potentially work with you?
They can go to 42north.com.
And that's actually spelled out as FOUR, the number 2, North, NORTH.com.
Website. And I'll link that down in the description of the YouTube video and in the show notes on Spotify and stuff too. So people can go down there, click, check out their work. They do great stuff. I appreciate you guys for not only being great at what you do, but also being encouraging for me. You've always been one of the people that have supported me the most. Anytime we ever need anything, we might not message for a year, but
Right.
whenever you do,
exactly.
if you need anything, I need anything, we just bounce ideas back and forth. So I appreciate
100%.
that, and always being like a source of inspiration. Sometimes I'll go on your guys' page and just look at what you're doing, because it's you guys do very creative things, and it's not in the same way that my brain works with creativity. So it's cool to see, like, what are they doing and how is it working for them? And like, you know, like you talked about earlier, taking little things that do work for you that would fit within what I'm doing, and vice versa. So I appreciate the inspiration, and most of all, out of everything, just the friendship and you guys being so cool. So I appreciate you for being awesome.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
And thanks for doing
And you
this
as
too.
well. Yeah,
Taking the
no,
time
you're
out to sit
welcome.
here. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I would love to do this again. This is fun.
maybe next time we wait a little bit, and then I'll come to your place. We can show off your space, and then maybe do something like that.
That'd be cool. Yeah,
That'd be awesome.
let's do it.
Thank you guys.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Go check out their work.